EPS there speaking in Karur outside the hospital after meeting with the families of those who've died in the stampede, meeting with those who've been injured. He asks questions of what exactly led to this stampede. And one important point that he raises, I'll bring in Pramod on this, is the fact that he says, Pramod, that even at my own rallies, there's a lack of security. Even at my own rallies, there have been security issues. And EPS has said this before. At every single one of his rallies, he's claimed there are ambulances brought in to distract the rally. He says there are attempts to stop his rally. He says there's not enough security arrangements. He's raised that now as well. But he's also not giving a clean sheet to Vijay, which is important to highlight here.
Akshita, one thing is very clear. What EPS did with ambulance over there, that led to a major issue, because the next time another ambulance went over there, it was attacked in Edappadi K Palaniswami's rally over there. So and the ambulance driver very clearly mentioned that it was the public at the spot who had called them for the taking a patient from that spot. So it is definitely, we could simply say that has turned into a kind of kind of an issue where when such programs are happening now, several political cadres think that ambulances are being sent through the spot for disrupting such an event or so, but that is not the actual fact, because major where roads are the ones that actually used by ambulances, and they have to go apply through such kind of event or any campaign or such, and the first priority is to an ambulance, be the ambulance is carrying a patient or not, because it could also be going to a spot to collect a patient from there, to take a patient and help them. So that way, the first priority when it comes to campaign or not is only for the ambulance and the ambulance drivers over there. But what EPS did led to a kind of repercussion. But in fact, we also getting information that yesterday also ambulances were earlier disrupted. But however, after Vijay requested that let the ambulances be taken over there, only then it was allowed and such. But even after that, we saw how the ambulances were completely stuck in the crowd, and it had to be they were trying to make way, but unfortunately,
you're right. There were clear delays. There were clear delays in the ambulances actually reaching these spots. Now imagine in a sea of 50,000 people, how does the ambulance make its way through? How do you even identify where there are people who need medical help? Those were serious challenges. And while hospitals themselves were overwhelmed, I think there was a large delay in actually getting these people the necessary medical help. Whenever we see a stampede like this, and Pramod and I have covered several of these, time is of the essence. Ensuring that these people who are struggling to breathe get some space, are able to actually get the necessary medical help, are resuscitated immediately. Unfortunately, in this case, it didn't happen. And that's why we're hearing, Pramod, of casualties of children and infants as young as 2 years old dying in this particular tragedy.
Well, yes, Akshita, those are the heartbreaking visuals that we saw from yesterday night. First, we were actually praying that it was not true and that our children would be saved or such, but it is true. And there is one visual of a father carrying the child and walking through the particular hospital over there. Such, I know, seeking some help from somebody, but there was nobody to help him. And there was another visual where the DMK MLA Sendil Balaji was trying to talk to a woman who was lying next to her child who was not breathing. And in fact, the child's shirt was open, and as the mother was grieving, this the DMK MLA actually was trying to put the buttons on the child's shirt. And then we had Minister Anbil Mahesh, who completely broke down. He was actually heard on camera saying that we were asking you to follow the conditions again and again, but you did not, and this is completely shameful. And he was praying, hoping that the death toll stops at 36, but unfortunately it has gone up to 39 over there. So the thing is that many are at faults over here, Akshita, be it the TVK, be it the administration and such. But right now a huge tragedy has occurred, and it looks like only after a one commission report further course of action would be taken on this matter, Akshita.
Okay, Pramod, just stay with me. I want to bring in Anaga Keshav also, who's joining us from Karur. She is at the hospital where you've had Edappadi Palaniswami just visiting as well. Anaga, has the process of identifying all of those deceased been completed? There are reports suggesting that there are children, babies as young as 2 who've died in the stampede.
Well, in fact, we believe the post-mortem reports are also completed and the bodies are being handed over to the families. In fact, as I was walking inside the hospital, I saw bodies being picked up, families receiving the dead bodies of their loved ones after the post-mortem process. In fact, we believe that an FIR has also been registered. The district secretary, the Karur district secretary, an FIR has been filed against him. In fact, Edappadi Palaniswami is still there. He's meeting with the press over there. He made one very important statement. He says that adequate security is not provided at even his own political rallies. He also goes on to say that when it comes to political rallies of Chief Minister, Deputy Chief Minister or other set of cabinet colleagues, enough security measures are being given. But when it comes to political parties from the opposition, there is lack and dereliction of duty on behalf of the police department is what he says. Squarely saying that the onus should lay on the police department and on TVK as well. That's the message that Edappadi Palaniswami, the leader of opposition, is trying to give out. In fact, what we also heard from Tamil Nadu's health secretary is that 95 people all in all were admitted in the hospital. 51 of them are admitted in Karur Government Hospital and are undergoing treatment. We're talking about about very little children, very small kids. In fact, a mother-daughter duo have also lost their lives. The identification process is currently underway. They are trying to identify all the dead bodies. In fact, the bodies are being handed over one by one to the families who are gathered here. They are looking absolutely helpless and understandably so. They are in tears, wailing and mourning the loss of their loved ones. We are also hearing that Deputy Chief Minister Udayanidhi has already landed in Trichy. From Trichy, he is going to be coming down here to Karur, where he is going to be meeting with the families of the victims.
Again, reeks of insensitivity. You know, we've been talking about the response that came in from Vijay last night, a good 5 hours after the stampede broke out. That's the first time we had a response. And now the information we have is that security has also been beefed up for Vijay at his residence in Chennai. Right after the stampede broke out, he didn't waste a minute to leave from Karur. There was no effort made to actually stay in Karur, stay in Trichy, none of that. He left immediately as planned, driving down from Karur to Trichy, taking a chartered plane to Chennai. Now he's at his residence in Chennai, which is in Nilangare, East Coast Road, one of the plushest parts of Chennai. Security has been beefed up. Just look at the irony here, viewers. There was no adequate security at his rally, which is what led to so many of his fans, of his diehard supporters, suffering the consequence of a lack of security. Today, however, Vijay rests comfortably in his house with a sea of security deployed outside his residence. There's been no effort made by the TVK chief to visit the families of those injured, to visit the families of those who've died. There's been one statement that came out a good 5 hours after the stampede. And now he sits in his residence in Chennai with full security. Pramod, can you confirm that for us? There's been security that's been heightened at Vijay's residence. We'll go to Pramod in just a bit and get you a report from Chennai. At Vijay's residence right now, where he is, security has been beefed up for him. God alone knows for what reason. Because for the people who gathered there, 50,000 people who gathered at his stampede, rally last night, there was no security provided. There was a lack of provisions made. But for the superstar Neta, all necessary provisions have been made. Whether it's for him to promptly leave Karur and reach Trichy in a convoy, for any of us it would take over 1.5 hours. For him, I'm sure in a matter of 20 minutes he reached Trichy as he planned. He boarded his chartered plane, went back almost as if nothing happened, viewers. That was the original schedule. That's what he stuck to. He headed back to Chennai, is now sitting in his residence. He says, I am shattered by what's happened. But Mr. Vijay, actions also speak in these kind of circumstances. Action, in fact, speaks louder than words. Where are you when your supporters need you? Where are you when people are looking for words of comfort from you? The fact that Vijay, and maybe will give him that possibility of doubt, which is that maybe he couldn't be there because of security reasons, that it would have led to chaos. But what stopped Vijay from staying put in a Karur, in Trichy, to send across a message that, we will ensure that we are there with the people irrespective? He went ahead with the schedule of heading right back to Chennai. He is now seated in his residence. The only word that we've heard from Vijay is a statement that was put out on social media last night. So his response has been clearly wanting through all of this. 39 people have died. US 39 precious lives have been lost. And of that, there are several children who've died. Children as young as 2 years old. And the only solace that Vijay is offered is a statement on social media. Nothing beyond that. There's been no effort made by the superstar Neta to be with these people at this time. These are people, let me remind you, who actually were there in such large numbers to just catch a glimpse of him. And those images that you see on your screens were from last night, when Vijay quietly went back into his residence, didn't make any statement. That's not surprising. He's not known for interactions with his media, which is fine. He doesn't want to interact with the media, let him not. But the least he could have done in such a circumstance is stand by those people. Those heartbreaking images, none of us can forget, of a father grieving with his dead child in his arms. And if that doesn't wake up the conscience of the TVK, of Vijay, or for that matter of the entire leadership of his party, I really don't know what will. What has stopped the Tamaraga Vetri Karagam leaders from visiting those injured? If not Vijay himself, why didn't he depute all of his other leaders to be there to work with the people at the hospital to provide all necessary help? It's been shocking, the manner in which TVK has responded to what's happened at their rally. Pramod Madhav is joining me with more details on that. Pramod, can you confirm this for us? The information we're getting is that security has now been padded up at Vijay's residence where he is in Chennai.
Well, Akshita, one thing is yesterday, by the time Vijay reached the spot, his home itself, security was beefed up over there, and we were actually under the notion that probably police were there to actually inquire what happened over the spot. But it looks like security has been beefed up just to make sure that, if any organization decides to go ahead and hold a protest or some, so that, the area could be secured. And that's the reason for now security has been beefed up over there, Akshita. And this security was put over there yesterday night itself, and we also have the visuals as Vijay was reaching his home. It was actually... the police were also already before they had reached the spot, Akshita.
Okay, so security beefed up there, fearing that there could be some sort of a protest. Is there any plan, Pramod, and just confirm this for us? Vijay hasn't, of course, been anywhere in Karur after what happened. He stuck to his schedule, came back to Chennai. Maybe he was advised to do so. We'll give him that benefit of doubt. But has there been, Pramod, can you confirm this for us? Has there been any TVK leader who's been at the hospital, any TVK leader on behalf of Vijay who's spoken out and who's at the hospital actively helping those who've been injured?
Actually, one thing is very certain, either the cadres could have been there or people from the district could have been there, but the actual leaders who actually called for these campaign and such, we could not find any such names over there, and that is a little bit unfortunate because it is actually their responsibility to be on the ground and help over there, but we didn't find them. And in fact, even though we are giving the benefit of doubt to Vijay that he was asked to leave the spot, it happened in Trichy where the reporters were actually from the journalists were questioning him. They stated that 30 people have died. What do you have to say? And even at that point, Vijay did not say anything, but he just walked away. He could have at least shown a gesture or something. That was what the people were expecting. Because imagine when this Cuddalore issue occurred where people died due to spurious liquor, Vijay actually went over there and he actually spoke on the matter, blaming the government and such. And here we have a huge lapse which led to such a kind of issue. And I have to reiterate once again, this was a ticking bomb. It should have occurred long time back, but thankfully or due to sheer luck, it did not happen in Trichy, Arilur or such, because people were thronging around him. They were traveling around him. They were going on the vehicle along through with his be it his car or SUV or the bus. They were actually traveling. In fact, we also know what happened earlier when he used to go to his Paniyur office, how Vijay fans used to follow him on and, even jump from trees over the, his van and such. So definitely Vijay could have clearly stated that these things should not be followed or maintain some kind of code. Because remember what happened when one fan tried to jump over the ramp at Madurai, he was thrown out by the security. That also occurred during a Vijay's event. And this kind of issues are there, which means that Vijay definitely had to inform his people. Or
right.
His,
he could afford bouncers to protect himself. What about the supporters? What about the people who've gathered there? Pramod, stay with me. There are questions right now being asked of the Tamil Nadu police as well. And we're going to continue asking those questions as well on the lapses on their part that led to this stampede. Anaga Keshav in Karur also asked those questions to the ADGP Law and Order. Listen in.
Morning. No, we'll tell you later, okay, right? Let's finish this formalities first, okay? Yeah.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, an FIR has been registered.
The bodies have been handed
Yeah, it's a process going on now. Okay, right.
Okay,
Okay, yeah.
sir, have all the bodies been identified so far?
I think so. I think mostly they've identified all the bodies, yeah.
Okay, so how many policemen were deployed yesterday, sir?
500 policemen are there, yeah.
So, but then a lot of questions are being raised as to how is it the police
We
department
will,
believes that only 10,000 people will
we will answer it during the time of inquiry, right? Okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
So the ADGP, law and order there, who is in Karur, at this time, of course, very busy, which we understand, has said very clearly that, look, after the probe, we'll be able to answer what happened. There were questions asked there by Anaga saying, was there not adequate police presence there? What happened? How is it that 10,000 people were supposed to gather, 50,000 turned up instead and the police were clueless? He says we will wait for the investigation to actually establish that. So you are seeing essentially the police right now on their feet, which we understand. And this is something I will reiterate because we don't want to point fingers for no reason. After the stampede happened, the response by the administration has been extremely prompt. But there have to be questions asked about why this kind of a tragedy happened in the first place. Those are questions that must be answered. And just to remind you exactly what happened last night, it's important to put out some of the images that we got. It was heartbreaking, to say the least. We were covering it live, and the images that came in of families just breaking down, seeing their loved ones dying in front of their eyes after that stampede. Heartbreaking images. Let me just run you through some of those.